G'day everyone, Brad here with Brad's Books, and today I'm going to speak about The Witch of Maracoor. Got the cover here. It came out yesterday, the 10th of October. I got mine on Amazon, on my Kindle, and then it's part 3 in the Another Day series. So we have here the Brides of Maracoor. The artwork on here is just completely stunning. Very much so. And just for the name, I just want to make sure I get it right. Scott McCowan. Beautiful. Once again, here, beautiful. There is a scene in the book that comes up where they discuss Rain standing with a shell to her ear. And I just feel like I've seen that somewhere. It's just such a beautiful picture. By the way, third book. Witch of Maracoor. I'll just do non-spoiler chats. Fantastic book. The Another Day series is just so artfully and skillfully done. I flew home yesterday from Sydney back to Darwin, and I read this book on the plane at the airport and finished it off today. I couldn't put it down. What I love about Gregory Maguire's writing is that he is just, in this completely fanciful world, he just cuts through the truth of things. And for example, if you've got someone who's in high status, being in society or Aussies militaries or the religious orders, and they're standing with all their pomp and splendor, what they feel that they have and what society gives them, he'll go on to say that they've probably got sweat stains, or that while they're giving this really awe-inspiring and regal speech, is probably someone taking a leak off the stage. So the truth that society and structure and positions of importance are all largely kind of like theoretical, aren't they? For a practical magic reference, the star, the police officer's star, it has power because you think it does, like a talisman, but also positions in society of importance, of class. It's all just a theoretical kind of structure. So that's what I really love about these books and Gregory Maguire's writing. The Witch of Maracoor nicely, I don't want to say wraps up the series, because it is the third and final book from my understanding, Another Day series, and I hope that's not true, but I'm understanding that it is. It wraps it up nicely and contently, but it doesn't, and it gives you plenty of answers. Trust me, you'll get plenty of answers, and they feel just real life, and I feel content with these answers. But not everything's answered, and not everything's justified, and not everything reaches the natural conclusion that you'd expect that it should, but that's fantastic, because that's reality. I think as you get older, all these grand plans that you think must happen and naturally will happen, often don't. And that can be from forces beyond your control, but also forces within your control. Things will not always go your way. I really appreciate the character of Rain and how she's developed, and the characters that she's met. Being in Maracoor, like Lucicles, Lyrics, but also the continuation of old characters from the Wicked Years, Iskanari, Nenny, Lear. Beautifully written, exciting, gives you answers and leaves others unanswered, but in a very satisfying way. Beautifully written. There's a line in there where there's a location that Rain goes to, and I won't say the location because it's quite a good one, and I encourage you strongly to read this book. Buy it, read it, it's fantastic. But she's with an animal, Lily, and it's such a beautiful and majestic setting. It almost feels magical. And Rain wonders if her animal, the little a, will become an animal with a capital A, because of the environment they find themselves within and how it makes you feel. But we're reminded that seeing is not everything. The reality of life is that No, the animal won't become a talking animal just because you're in a place that appears wonderful and beautiful. And if that were to happen, it would be quite, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it would be overly sweet, overly fictional, overly child story. And to have that kind of truth written in such a good way in an Oz book, a fictional world, it's just mind-blowing. So, excuse me. So yeah, if you haven't finished the Another Day series, thoroughly recommend that you go and give it a shot. It was worth your time. You'll think about characters and situations and things and get answers and more information on the characters from the Wicked years. And it's just an enjoyable experience. I was in that kind of greedy situation where I didn't want it to end. I enjoyed it that much, but I wanted to rush through it so I could find out what happened to these characters that I love so much. We have information on Liam and his life, on Rain, on Candle, and many others will just kind of pop in and pop out, and it's just so satisfying. So if you're watching this video and you're considering reading the book, it's out now on Kindle, and you can also, wherever good books are sold, I'm not too sure, but I just found it on Amazon, and just get it, have a read, have a listen. Well worth your time. Well written, an outstanding addition to the Another Day series. Alrighty, so from here I might just go into spoilers and talk about how I feel about things. Now, I'm very wary of the fact that Australia isn't right in time, so potentially this book only has just come out in the United States and some other countries, so I don't want to give everything away, because I would hate for something as beautiful as this, as well written and as, I think, perfect as this, to be Brad's I'm not a storyteller. Gregory Maguire is a storyteller, so please, if you're interested at all, just read the book. Alrighty. What I really love about Rain is that she is a young woman who is complicated, but that's real, isn't it? And when you look at if you just want to look at the cover, you got a green skinned girl. You're like, oh, okay, no worries. So, oh, she's probably a witch. Okay. Probably people think she's wicked. There's so much more to that. Not only is she a green-skinned girl, but she's also a daughter and a granddaughter, and arguably trauma has existed within this family line since, and forgive me if I get the name wrong, Melina, Elphaba's mother, potentially even the grandparents above that. They are a product of their environment and of their family. So not only is Rain just a wicked green-skinned girl, I hate people who do that, wicked green-skinned girl, she's also a daughter of a father who himself was, while not abandoned, he was largely ignored, and he didn't even know who his family were, and he didn't even know if he was magic, and he didn't even know that he was going to be a father at the stage when Rain was conceived. That has flow-on effects on how he is a parent to Rain. So even though Rain was separate for a large part of her life, she does still have a tie to Lear, and how he thinks affects her, and how he thinks is based off the way that he grew up with Elphaba. And the way that Elphaba raised her child had so much to do with her own upbringing, where she was green-skinned, where she wasn't quote-unquote normal and perfect. And the people who thought, her father, who thought that he was normal and perfect, thoroughly wasn't. Either was her mother, and her nanny was just not particularly fantastic. So we all are the sum of our parents and grandparents, or the people or communities that raised us. So Lear, while he was surrounded by his family, One, he didn't know it, but he didn't really get that kind of emotional connection that he needed. Rain, who had to leave her family, still speaks to Leah and has a bit of connection, but it's not flushed out. It's not full. It's not, I don't want to say final because that's not the right word, but it's not, no one's particularly winning at the parental game. So not only is she a product of her family, and Glinda and her friends she made at school, but also how society treats her. She's quote unquote wicked. Or she's Elphaba. She's only, people see her in the street and want to say hello Elphaba, and give her gifts. But it's not only has Elphaba not raised a son who fully knows how to be a father, but I think Rain knows through experience that the songs that are sung in history aren't always correct. So I just really love that kind of character arc for Rain, because I love that line when Leah goes back and thinks that when Rain's a baby and thinks that she's died and says that she's washed up green, and how it gives so much answers, but it must have given him so much more questions. So I really like Rain's arc. I think she's true, like it's realistic, that she's complicated, that she has a lot going on, that she hasn't received the love and space and attention that we all need to be successful in life, but she's making the most of it. And some of the relationship choices that she makes aren't correct. Well, they can't, well, to me, they may not be correct, but I don't live her life, so who knows? So, some things happened with Lucicles. I used to say Lucicles. Lucicles, they have flow-on effects. And when you're young and you believe that you're kind of on top of it and you know exactly what you're doing, you don't always understand these flow-on effects. So what often we can do is just shut down the story and just go, that's a lot for me to consider. I'm just going to, that doesn't matter, and just move on with my life. But there are consequences that flow from that. So I thought it was so interesting when we were in Maracoor and she's with Lucicles, and then her and Tristaneri, she's on the broom, Tristaneri's in flight, and they're gone. And I'm like, wow, are we actually doing this? Like, this is fantastic. Like, because that's so true, isn't it? I've had relationships where it doesn't end well, and you unfortunately don't get to speak to each other again. And it's painful, and it leaves questions, and to be the one who left versus the one who left behind, it's all just, I thought it was so interesting. But later on, when we do speak to someone who has returned from Maracoor, and we do have the opportunity to find out some information, the information we get is both interesting, incomplete yet satisfying, because that's just the truth of life. And I think you realize that as you get older. I think when you're younger, it feels like everything has to have an answer, and everything needs to be explained, and everything needs to be complete, and then everything will affect you. And as I get older, I'm almost Leah's age, sometimes mysteries remain just that. So I thought that was really interesting. The people we got to meeting Leah, I didn't recognize Leah at first when, it's no secret that Leah's my favorite character. Well, he is my favorite literary character of all time, I think. And I think that in non-specific ways, I can identify him quite a bit. I've followed his story, and I just think he's really interesting and really complex, but a really great written character, and a good character who's been through quite a bit. And I was kind of in where Rain was because I really like Trism too. I think he's a fine character, and I'm glad that they got together. But then they got to the house and were gone, and Leah, who was once a little bit lost, a little bit lonely, unsure, just trying to make his way in the world, the sudden surprise that he's now a partner, and he naturally has priorities of his partner. Yes, he's a father, but he's also a partner, and he's also in a pre-relationship. So it's having a partner that you love completely, but also not feeling the need to have to justify that love. And I think that's something that he came up with Rain, which I thought was so interesting. Like, yeah, he's got a partner. Yeah, it's a man. And this is their house now, but it's also Trism's. I thought that was really interesting. Would have liked to seen Candle, but unfortunately we don't. So I think I might do another video about Lee and how his relationship ended up and where I thought it was going. I thought it was great. I will quickly speak to Lee not recognize when Lee would hear about what Rain was saying she did in Maracoor, your oracle, you're this, you're that, not quite believing it, because she had left, and she left with a book and a broom, and she returned with a book and a broom, and to her father's eyes, potentially nothing had changed, yet she had hardened, yet everything had changed. And him not being able to completely reconcile that, and I think that's just the relationship between the older generation and the younger generation, and parents and children in general. But I think some of the reason is because the man's literally flown a broom, and he has done magic. But he questions himself, is he as magical? And his own self-doubt and his own willingness, I could be wrong here, but his willingness to explore his skill, what makes him special. Is it perhaps that if he explores that he is magical, he has to in his mind explore the fact that Elphaba was related, but how she ultimately left him? Maybe that's too painful. Maybe that's why the only time he's willing to explore magic when he believes it's someone else's, being Candle's or Elphaba's. And how people said your father can't do magic, and Rain's like, hold on there, we don't know if that's true. So I think that what Rain has that potentially Elphaba and Leah do not is a willingness to explore, a willingness to try. She tried new spells. She rewrote their script. Maybe the grimoire is a guide and not the be all and end all. And you can just, Rain made up a new spell and it worked. And I can't remember that Elphaba or Leah have ever tried that. And when something good happens, i.e. you can fly the broom, that memorable scene when the bridge has just burnt and Leah is in the military and he gets on the broom and he rides away. If that's not magic and that's not strength, he didn't believe it was his. His was the burden of what had happened, but the magic and the skill he didn't believe was his. So I think it's just all an interesting look at family and generations, definitely. Yeah. Well, what I think I really liked about this book series is just life, isn't it? Not everything's going to be answered. People we love will be lost, be it through passing away, changes in relationship, changes in goals and desires, and that the path that's laid at our feet, you're the Ozma, you will complete this. You're the Wicked Witch, you will do this. Society expectations, you can go sometimes, well, I'm just not going to go down that road. And yet there will be consequences, good and bad, but that's just life. So, a beautifully written book, an outstanding series, and I'm sad that it's finished. Definitely, I'm going to do a reread from the Wicked Years back through Another Day series. I was just reading the book thinking just how lucky you are when you have a series that suits you. What do I mean by that? Sometimes when you read fantasy and you've got the quote unquote bad person, he's the bad guy. Yep, sure. He'll just be bad. And when you've got the good person, they're just good. Their flaws might be that they're socially awkward or they're anxious or they don't believe in themselves. But I think when we can find out like the bad guy, perhaps, like I can't think of what his name was. The general when Glinda was housebound and they when Rain and Glinda cast Winter on Water, there were parts of his personality that were good. But they were outshone by the bad, and same in reverse. So that also, just the expression of it all about youth, like when Lyric's becoming a young man, and how that change is affecting his father. To see the gods who were existing in the world and who can be seen at certain times, and these gods of beauty and who have effect and power but remain largely unseen. How things are never answered clearly, like she's cast a spell, but perhaps the dragon flew off by under his own steam. We just never get hand-fed answers or solutions. But what we get is enjoyable, exciting to read, and I feel quite content at the end of this series. I would love more. 100% I would love more. I'd love answers on many things. I think that's the book. If this is the final book, it's set up like there is another book, isn't there? But isn't that just life? In that, in 20 years' time, I'm going to be doing this. Hopefully I'll be doing this if I'm still around. Knock on wood, nothing bad happens. But perhaps the man I am in 20 years' time might want to take that road or do that thing. There's not always resolution and answers, and that's beautiful and painful. So anyway, I've spoken too much. That's my take on The Witch of Maracoor. If you haven't read it, please read it. I haven't covered hardly anything from this book. It's fantastic, enjoyable, and satisfying. Alrighty. That's all for now. And I was one bit of personal info. I was on the plane last night from Sydney to Darwin. I was reading this book, and I had some piano music in the background. And for some reason, it's just a YouTube video I downloaded. And for some reason, the demigod, when Rain picked up Candle's instrument, just around that time, not the exact time, but around that time, the music from the piano for some reason had changed to like a, I don't know what it was. It wasn't a harp or something like that, but it was just a really nice, like, wow, a nice feeling. Really enjoyed seeing Leo and what he's up to. And a lot of the characters we see along the way. Fantastic. Anyway, that's enough from me. I hope you guys are all doing well. Yeah, if you've read the book, please let me know what you think. If you haven't, please read it, please. And yeah, take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.